Have you ever really stopped to think about the words we use every single day? It turns out they're full of hidden stories. Our language is kind of like an ancient city, built layer on top of layer over centuries. And today, we're going to dig into one of its brightest foundations, the whole concept of light.
So, let's start with a little puzzle. What on earth could a clear idea, a shining pearl, and the morning star all have in common? I mean, on the surface, they seem totally unrelated, right? But stick with me, because you're about to see they're all branches of the exact same family tree. The answer is, well, it's surprisingly illuminating.
To figure out this connection, we actually need to go back in time. Way back. Our journey starts in a world that didn't have a single light switch, a world lit entirely by flame. Ancient Rome.
Just try to picture it for a second. Once the sun went down, your entire world was defined by the reach of a flickering flame. Light wasn't something you just flicked on. It was this precious resource you had to create, and you had to keep it going. And this constant, powerful presence of light and dark, it deeply, deeply shaped how the Romans spoke, and that, in turn, shaped how we still speak today.
And that brings us right to the heart of our story. So I want you to meet the Latin root for light. It comes in three main flavors, you could say: look, lum, and lus. Now, they all mean light, but each one carries a slightly different shade of meaning, and they all come from these three Latin words: lux, lumen, and lustrare.
All right, so let's get to know the family. We're going to break down these three branches because really, each one has its own distinct personality, and each one has given us this whole collection of fascinating English words.
Okay, first up is our first branch, lux. For the Romans, this wasn't just any old light. It was the light of clarity. Think about that moment right at dawn when the sun breaks and you can finally see everything clearly. Lux is all about understanding. It's about that fog of confusion finally lifting.
So from lux, the Romans had the word lucidus, which just meant bright or clear. And you can probably see where this is going. It gives us a direct line to our English word lucid, which means when you ask for a lucid explanation, you're kind of unconsciously asking for one that's so clear, it literally feels like it's shining a light on the subject.
Now for our second branch. This one comes from the word lumen, and its focus is a little different. It's all about the object that actually creates the light. A lamp, a torch, the moon. It's not just the light itself, but the source of that light.
And the path this word takes is so cool. So a luminous object, like a firefly, is something that gives off its own light. To illuminate something is to shine light into it, whether that's a dark room or, a tricky topic. And here's a great little piece of history. The medieval monks who decorated manuscripts with gold leaf were actually called illuminators because they literally made the pages glow. How cool is that?
All right, our third and final branch isn't really about the light itself, or even the source. It's about an action. It comes from lustrare, which means to make something bright, to polish it until it gleams, or even to purify it with light.
This gives us the word lustr, that beautiful, gentle shine you see on a pearl. And hey, remember our puzzle? Well, there's one of the answers. It also gives us the word illustrate. And get this, originally, to illustrate a text didn't just mean adding pictures. It meant to light it up with examples, making the meaning shine right through.
These roots can also help clear up some subtle differences in our own language. Take translucent. Trans means through, and lucent, well, that means shining. So it lets shining light pass through it, like frosted glass, but you can't see details clearly. That's totally different from transparent, which is about being able to see right through something. It's a small distinction, but it has a pretty bright origin story.
So when you put it all together, you can see this really beautiful pattern. To elucidate is to bring an idea out of darkness. To illuminate is to shine light into a topic. And to illustrate is to make a concept shine. They're all different ways of making things clear, but they all come from different branches of the exact same light-bearing root.
Okay, so we've seen how this root helps clarify ideas and makes things shine. But this family has one more member, and this one has a surprisingly dramatic history.
The word is Lucifer. Now, today, that word has a very, very specific and dark association, right? But the word's origin story is literally the exact opposite of darkness.
Name actually breaks down really simply. You've got luci, which comes from our root lux, meaning light. And then you have fair, which comes from the Latin verb ferre, meaning to carry or to bring.
So Lucifer literally and originally just meant the light bearer. So what was this light bearer? Well, long before any later religious traditions got a hold of the name, Lucifer was just the Roman name for the morning star, the planet we now call Venus. It was actually a beautiful, powerful name for a celestial body.
And it was named this for a really simple reason. Venus is the brightest thing you can see in the sky right before the sun rises. It's the star that looks like it's carrying the light of a new day into the darkness. It was the perfect light bearer. And it's the final piece to our puzzle.
So, there you have it. From a clear thought to a shining pearl to the morning star, all of them are connected by this one ancient root for light. And understanding this doesn't just teach us about a few words, it really changes how you see language itself, as this incredible network of glowing connections.
The Roman poet Virgil wrote that, and it just feels like the perfect metaphor, doesn't it? Even though thousands of years have passed, these ancient Latin roots, they aren't dead. They just keep sprouting new, golden branches of meaning in our language every single day.
So maybe the next time you hear a really lucid argument or you see something with a beautiful luster, you'll remember the firelight of ancient Rome. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden stories are glowing just beneath the surface, just waiting for us to illuminate them? Thanks so much for joining me for this one.